Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to another episode of From the Ground Up. Real-time issues with real-time solutions, sponsored by Queen Strategy Partners. Nicole Valentine, Esquire, Danielle Douglas, and myself, Dr. Stacey N.C. Grant. This has been our opportunity to serve our MWBE and small business community with information you can use right now in order for your business to thrive and grow post this new reality that we're all living in. We want to say thank you. Thank you for showing up every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for sharing this with your audience. Thank you for your comments and your messages that you've shared with us. Feel free to follow us at Queen Strategy Partners on Facebook, as well as Queen Strategy Partners on Instagram. We look forward to having you also subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we have the recordings of all of our shows. So make sure you stay connected and continue to share it out. Good morning, Greta. Great to see you here. Thank you for joining in. That's my Greta, all the way from Boston, Massachusetts. Love you and appreciate your presence here today. But I am not going to delay because it was so nice. We had to do it twice. I can't wait till we introduce our guest. But of course, I have to bring you the beautiful and the talented. It's her birthday month. My co-host, Danielle Douglas.
Ooh, for the birthday. Ooh, for the birthday.
Girl.
Yes. Well, I have to say it's the end of the month, folks. But it's September 1st. So celebration starts today. But with that said, last week we brought these two illustrious guests on to talk about how to protect and maximize protecting you and your business during COVID-19. Today, we will be talking about how to protect and maximize your digital assets. We brought these ladies back because you had such great feedback. We thought we would be doing you a disservice by not bringing them back. We wanted to go a little deeper so they could share their expertise with you a little more. As Stacey and I, Nicole, always say, we are bringing you real-time solutions for real-time issues, and we respond to what we see that you need in real time. So without further ado, we're going to introduce the guests that were here last week that we brought back today, so you could continue to get some great information. So Danielle Brown, Esquire, is a New York licensed attorney and founder of the Brown Firm. She is passionate about entrepreneurship and helping people build and sustain generational wealth. Danielle focuses her practice on estate planning, business law, and entertainment law. The firm's mission is to empower and educate people on protecting their assets and preserving their legacy, and that has touched hundreds of families. As a business owner and a former WNBA team executive, Danielle understands the legal, business, and financial challenges that businesses of any size or experience level face. And she also understands the importance of preparing for the future. In 2015, Danielle co-founded Do Strategy Group, a business marketing and graphic design consulting agency where she assisted small businesses with formation, branding, and development for marketing plans and strategies. In this capacity, Danielle helped a variety of clients that included startups, mom and pop shops, Fortune 500 corporations, entertainers, and television personalities. Danielle joined the WNBA's Atlanta Dream staff in 2014 as the head of the business operations department, and she quickly became a member of the senior management team and began serving as the team's general counsel. In this position, Danielle negotiated and drafted cost-effective contracts, agreements, and licenses, and successfully managed and fostered relationships. She added a legal perspective to all business operations and effectively communicated legal principles to non-legal personnel. And because of all of this, Danielle was recognized as a 2015 Future Leader by the president of the WNBA. So without further ado, we bring you Danielle Brown, Esquire.
Welcome, Danielle. And joining us as well is the beautiful and talented Vanessa A. Lindley, the CEO of Lindley Consulting Group, LLC. It's a transformational thought leadership platform where she is the trainer, coach, and author. She has 25 plus years. I still don't understand it because she looks like she just turned 25 in the finance industry, and she's an alumnus of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. Her company is a minority women-owned business enterprise, and her mission is to transform the lives of individuals, organizations, and communities. She's written publications and curricula like Achieve Financial Victory, 7 Ways to Win with Your Money, Realizing the American Dream, Life Balance for the Woman on the Rise, Financial Coaching, Helping Clients Reach Their Goals, Delivering Effective Financial Education for Today's Consumer. She's also a financial contributor of the Women of More magazine and a blogger on Medium. She's a nationally recognized leader. She's worked with Fortune 500 companies, municipalities, universities, small businesses, including Citibank, Chase, State of New York, Columbia University, St. John's University, FDIC, the National Urban League. I mean, I really can't read them all. And she's an award recipient of the All-Star Agent, Entrepreneur and Community Leader of the Year, and recently, Woman of Wall Street 29. She better go on, girl. So we're so excited to have Vanessa Lindley joining us again. Y'all can't let me do this production stuff, honey. I had too much fun. I love the fact that we have these experts on our show today to really get into this topic. And as Danielle Douglas said, building on last week, you had so many questions. You were so grateful for the insight and the information that was shared. We're going to go deeper today, and I'm going to turn it back over to my co-host who is chomping on the bit to get to our first question for Miss Lindley.
So, Miss Vanessa, you know, when we were together last week, you kind of dropped a little nugget and you talked about content, creating assets, digital assets on the internet to actually sell, right? And one of the very first webinars, not one of, the very first webinar that Stacey and I did was really about how to pivot. And, you know, really, even though we talked about different topics, at the end of the day, we all need to adapt and pivot. And so I want you to kind of expound on that, like what you meant, what does that look like? And you even spoke about you launching a product soon. So I know that was a mouthful, but I wanted to set the stage, you know. So can you talk a little more about that? One, what does that look like in regards to creating digital assets, and 2, how you've done that and how you pivoted?
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for having me again this week. It's always a great time to hang out with Stacey and Danielle, all 3 of you. And yes, this conversation obviously is a passion of mine. And we saw from COVID-19 it being a health pandemic, but also an economic pandemic. And so a lot of business owners and even employees had to find ways to pivot to be able to survive and thrive in this environment. So some of the digital assets specifically that I've seen people do that I wanted to focus on this morning are this content creation. We are all experts at what we do. And sometimes it's easier for some to put it in written format. Sometimes it's easier for a verbal format. Or sometimes it's a combination of 2, or hosting. Like, you know, you all have great talent in hosting these webinars where you have these dialogues. So there's multiple ways that you can maximize those assets online. And now we've seen it happen over and over again. And just some of the areas that I have done, and I have seen tons of people have done. One is the online course. So taking a content area that you're really good at and making a course out of it. And I know for some people it sounds easy, it sounds harder than it is. And in some instances, if it's really not your expertise, you can pay someone to do it for you, or you can do what the secret in the industry is, which I'm letting you all know. No, it's called white label. So that means that someone else actually writes it and you pay them to own it. And then you put your brand on it. And so some people do that. A lot of these big time celebrities don't write all their books or their courses or their content. So just a secret. So, but then you buy it. So you pay a premium for it. Sometimes you pay a one flat fee. Sometimes you pay a monthly fee, depending on what type of product it is. And then you own it. You put your label, you can customize, you can massage it, and then you sell it. And so online courses, and it runs the gamut. I mean, you may not have seen the platform that I'm using is Teachable, but there's Thinkific. They're also been around for years. Coursera, which they offer free courses and paid courses. And I can, send the links to these. But again, the content area, I mean, it varies from how to meditate, how to exercise, mine is personal finance, how to start a business. Some of it is technical. I mean, there are tech people who are making multiple six figures who take these courses, put it on their resume, and they're able to make more money. So you just have to think about, what is my specific area of expertise? What problem am I solving? And how can I get it out to the world in an online course? And the industry, I had to look up the numbers myself this morning, that is a $300 billion, expected to be $300 billion by 2025. So in 2018 is a $190 billion industry. And what I love about online courses is you do the work once and it becomes that passive residual income. So I'm gonna start with the online course because I can go on because I have more. I don't know if anybody has questions. And I'm gonna go to the next one.
I needed to applaud for that because you just helped somebody with understanding white labeling. You hear the term, but not all businesses know how to do it. So this is a tangible way that you can take your knowledge and your expertise and you can present it to your potential clients and it can earn you residual. I love residual income. Destiny Designers University, the business model is residual income. Can somebody say cha-ching? I'm sorry, Vanessa.
Ka-ching, ka-ching.
And I love passive income. Y'all know I have 3 children. I cannot work all the time. So I have to be able to leverage myself. And so doing things like this, it means I create it once and it continues to pay me. So it's also passive. Like you still have to market it. So there's some work in it, but you're not working every time. And so to some of us who love to teach, I thank you all for calling me professor, because in my mind, that's what I do. I do teach colleges, so maybe I'll get the official title one day. But those of us who like to teach, we do it no matter what. But there are ways that we can reach a larger audience by having these online courses that people can access around the world at any time, night or day, and money just comes into our account. That's what I like. I'm like, I'm up in the world and the money is just coming while I'm sleeping. And so another tip is, so even for example, what we're doing now, taking this content when we do a webinar, when you all do like straight along webinars and turning that into, a online digital asset. So like an ebook, let me give you that, for example. So you take a course you created, you may have you may have a PowerPoint or some sort of digital presentation. You take that, turn it into an ebook. Another thing, people don't have to buy the paper book. They can download it. That industry is last year, 26 billion overall and 22 billion for all books. For ebooks, it's 2.4 billion. And so you're talking about, again, taking the same content that you teach verbally. You may have a digital asset of it, like a PowerPoint of some sort, turn it into a book. So people who don't want to watch or listen to the webinar, they can now read it on their own time, download it from their computer. So there's no mailing. The post office is in trouble anyway. There's no mailing. They can get it right away. And people are making buku money from an ebook. And again, one person can create this online course, this ebook, this webinar, and it just keeps cycling. The people can access what they need from you in multiple ways, and you're just making money all day and all night. All day and all night.
But Vanessa, can I say, I have to admittedly say this, and okay, my sister, Dr. Stacy, she always has my back because I'm always calling her. As she knows, she's the soother to my soul, and she knows I'm technologically not there, folks. I am not there.
No, she's developing. We're going to correct that language.
Yeah. But admittedly, I have to tell you that. So this sounds all well and good, Vanessa. Everything you're saying, you're on point. But what about folks like me, who I'm like, technology. I'm like, oh, what do you do?
You're going to hire someone. You're not going to do it. You're going to hire someone. So there's a little investment in some of these, but it's not as much as some other industries as it is to get into. So you can do a couple of things. You can go on Fiverr, which is one of my favorite sites for entrepreneurs, for both as an entrepreneur, if you have a skill set that you can put on and get more clients through Fiverr, Fiverr, but also as a smaller entrepreneur or starting or pivoting entrepreneur, you can go on Fiverr and you can hire these virtual employees that can create your content and take what you have. And I've used them for multiple things, and it's affordable. And the price ranges, you can get from really, low cost to higher cost, depending on, what you want. But you can hire someone on a platform like Fiverr to do this for you, or a virtual assistant. And so there are companies like, what's the name of it? There's a company where you can pay a monthly fee, and I just personally got back on it just to be on my pivoting stage. I got to find, I'll come back with the name of the company, but you can go online and get a virtual assistant you pay a monthly fee for a virtual assistant platform. So you actually have a team of employees through a virtual assistant bank, for lack of a better word. And so if you say, hey, I need to take this PowerPoint and make it into an ebook, you can have your virtual assistant do it. You can go on Fiverr and have them do it. You can say, okay, now I need to take this content, make it a PowerPoint. You're going to pay someone to do that. So there is a somewhat of a cost. But again, once you get it onto a platform and you're driving people to that platform, like every week when you have the show, you will hopefully continue to build up your revenue, and it will offset the nominal cost to do that. So
okay.
Those are some tips. The name of that virtual assistant, because I think a lot of us who want to expand, you may have employees, you may have consultants, but sometimes it's these special technical areas, they may not be on your team already. You can outsource them through a variety of ways, and some are lower cost for the startup. And then as you grow, you can continue to build that team out.
I've used Fiverr as well, and I've had good experiences there. Another platform that I use for resources to find consultants and people who could help me is Upwork. So Have you ever used Upwork?
I have plenty of times.
Okay. So
when I wrote my first ebook, I used Upwork, and the guy he became like my personal employee after that. So I just did a bunch of stuff. Yes. And that was like, I don't know.
Happy story. See, that works.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you this as well, because you talked about actual platforms, right? Like Teachable and platforms like that, right? And Danielle has been so sweet. She's been on the sideline. We're not forgetting Danielle, folks. We just know that Vanessa has a timeline. And so we're trying to get all we can get out of Vanessa before she got to leave. So don't think we're ignoring Danielle. But with that said, Vanessa, you talked about Teachable and things like that, which for someone who's beginning, that may be a good platform or resource. But also as it relates to some of these platforms, and when you use them, they say your digital assets is their digital assets, that they own it. And you could potentially just make money off of it, or they want to split your revenues like 50-50 or something like that. So, I'm going to throw it out to you. And then Danielle, please, we want you to address it. If not now, when we get to you, please, from protecting your digital asset perspective.
Well, Danielle can definitely chime in from a legal standpoint, but thank you for bringing that up. You do want to be clear on each engagement with any of these platforms. You have to read the fine print or have your attorney read the fine print to see who owns what. Even with white labeling, you want to see who owns what license you have actually in use of it. And then again, if you use anybody, when you're sharing these assets on a digital platform, what ownership is at risk. So I'm gonna let Danielle, the legal expert, chime in on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great point. A lot of people, use these platforms and don't actually read the contract that they give you. And, sometimes it's in fine print. But what you want to do is a cost benefit analysis, right? So sometimes these companies may actually say, whatever you create, we get X, or they may say, we own everything that you put in. You want to think about, like, is the ownership over that worth? You still need a platform to actually put your work out on, right? So you want to analyze whether or not it's beneficial enough to give away your intellectual property or not. In most cases, you don't want to give away your intellectual property, right? Because it's your hard work. And it's your proprietary work. So in any situation, you want to see, or try to get as much control over intellectual property. So that's when you're dealing with consultants. Even on Upwork, I use Upwork all the time. And before I actually hire consultants on Upwork, what I do is I have an independent contractor agreement that I have them sign saying anything they create is mine. I'm paying you through this platform, but anything that you create is mine, right? So you want to make sure you cover your bases in those cases when you can. Sometimes you can't, and in that case, you want to do that.
And I think that's analysis. Important to just underscore, because we had some folks having Elizabeth. Hey, Elizabeth. She said, can you recommend anyone specific to help convert a presentation to an ebook? She has a lot of presentations that she was saying on PowerPoint, and she does Wellness Spotlight for our SEQ moves and some other programs that I have. You know, I'm Jamaican. I have a lot of jobs and a lot of verticals. So she wants to know if you can recommend outside of, I guess, Upwork and Fiverr, is there some other recommendations that you have, Vanessa, while we have you? And then I'm going to pull up the virtual assistant information that you were sharing with us as well.
Yeah, I have people from that site, and I would have to look up their like sign-on name and get back to you. I was trying to see if I had it in my notes handy. I don't have it handy. There are people that they're a go-to. Once I find someone on Fiverr that does a good job, I just keep them kind of in my database. And when I need a specific type of work, I go back to them. So I would have to get that to you, Stacey, and give it back to Ra. Is it Ra? Elizabeth?
Elizabeth, yeah.
Elizabeth. We'll get it back to you, Elizabeth, because I don't have the person's name handy. But there are a couple that I use specifically for certain things on Fiverr that have done quality work.
So the other thing, first of all, I want to say, Patricia, thank you for feeling my pain. Right? Because I see you like you're in the struggle too with this technology. But the other thing I wanted to say to Vanessa is and this is really for Vanessa and Danielle. We're talking about certain platforms, and for beginners, that may be the easy way to do it, right? Potentially is to, get on a Teachable or some of the other platforms. But what about also potentially creating your own website to house your content, right?
Right.
So that's a possibility as well. And then in regards to protecting your digital assets, that's a way that we know we could protect our digital assets, and we could still have our brand and deliver, the variety of digital assets that we create.
Mm-hmm.
Danielle, do you want to handle that one first?
Sure, I had to unmute. So absolutely. So on your website, right, I think that's a great option to house any of your creative works, any of your presentations. But remember, this is your copyright. This is your intellectual property, this work that you created. So one, you want to make sure that you have copywritten, received a registration from the Copyright Office, right? Just in case anyone wants to white label your work without actually asking you to white label your work, right? So, and the reason you want to do that is because you can't bring suit in federal court without a copyright registration. And the benefit, so the process for someone taking your work and you telling them that they need to stop using it, et cetera, is first you send them a cease and desist letter. If they continue to use it, well, then now you need to go to court. That's litigation. In order for you to actually do that, your work has to be copyrighted, right? So one. Also, without a copyright registration, you can't receive any statutory damages. So we talked about this a little bit last week. Statutory damages is the lump sum of it's a large amount of money that you get for people willfully infringing on your work, right? So that's after they get that cease and desist letter and decide, hey, I'm gonna still keep using your work. Another thing people don't realize is that they need to have a terms and conditions on their website. A terms and conditions policy is essentially a contract for whoever's on your website using your website. So you let them know on your website whether or not they can repurpose your intellectual property, how they can use it, if they can download it, what type of license you're offering them. This is that policy that covers everything. So everyone using your site falls under that terms and conditions contract that you have. So you may think about like other sites that you've been on and they tell you to check if you read the terms and conditions that no one ever reads, but you still need that policy on there to cover you and make sure that your work is protected, and that there's some protection for you. Another thing the terms and conditions do for your site is if you, for example, have a site where people upload content, right? You want to make sure that they aren't uploading any infringing work, anyone else's work. They aren't utilizing anyone's work without their permission. You want to make sure that's your cover because that person could potentially sue you. So you want to make sure, we call it a DMCA takedown notice. You want to make sure that's actually in your terms and conditions.
Wait, hold on, Danielle. That just sounded real important. Say that again. What kind of takedown?
It's a DMCA takedown notice. It's it covers like all digital copyright works, and you need to make sure that you actually have that in your terms and conditions so that you have the authority to take down anyone's work that's infringing.
So hence Twitter and some of the when we see that on Twitter, right? When they like take down things on Facebook and things like that, right?
Right. So yes, so for example, if you post anything on Instagram and they take it down saying you don't own the rights to it, well, that's essentially what they're doing. They're making sure they enforce their terms and conditions.
Absolutely. I've had to have my attorney do I didn't know that's what he didn't tell me that's what it was called, a DFC takedown. I had to take down some people trying to use my trademark and tell them cease and desist. Well, he told them. But it's important to have those protections because, like you said, Danielle, a lot of people don't read terms and conditions. So you don't know what you're signing up for. And that's why the investment of having an attorney that you can call. It doesn't have, every attorney has a different policy on their retainer and what they will charge you for, but it's better to have access to somebody before you need them than be in a crisis and then you're paying for additional fees and hours because, attorney hours are billable hours, child. So you want to make sure you have a good relationship with an attorney. Danielle, how can they contact you, girl? Because we need that.
Yeah, so you can go to my website, which is www.thebrownfirm, Brown has an E at the end of it, .com. Or you can shoot me an email at Danielle, DANIELLE, at thebrownfirm.com. And I'll be happy to speak with everyone.
And, it's important you said that, Stacey, because what people need to know is even in the midst of COVID-19, there's certain things you can't cut corners on. Right? Because you'll bite yourself, in the future. So stuff like that, legal advice, accounting advice is critically important. So we can move forward in the way that we want to and grow, So with that said, Vanessa, I know we only got you for like another 2 minutes, give or take. So can you share with us about how you be a testimonial for folks?
So talking about pivoting, and my next platform that I'm launching is the Family Finance Academy. But in COVID, I do a lot of offline work. So I do a lot of consulting work that you don't see online. I do, in-person training and consulting from home. So, but in this COVID space, I had to work on increasing my digital footprint. And so when the race riots happened and the economic crisis happened, I had this enormous calling on my life to see what I could do in this space. So I've been doing this personal finance, business development work, again, not online, but more B2B and mostly B2B, more than B2C. But I feel like I know in this crisis that more individual consumers need my expertise in this moment. And I was home. So I launched this Facebook group called the Economic Resurrection. And it was a call to action, and it was specifically for people who have been left out. So it was, at this moment, it was for Black Americans, African Americans who have been discriminated against persistently, consistently, systematically for generations, and giving them an opportunity to have access to this information that I've been blessed to have for over 25 years. So in 2 months, this group grew to over 2,400 people.
Wow.
And that was just free information, just
feeding into people's souls. Other people add contributions, but covering economic lessons from, some people are going to stay employees, and that's okay. How can you maximize the benefits of your employer, and then maybe turn some of your hobbies into another line of business, or pivoting? Some people are going to lose their jobs. So how can we now support people in that moment? How can we grow our businesses? How can we apply to be MWBEs? I just got my 10-year renewal on my LLC for the Lindley Consulting Group. Woohoo! So, and I got certified as an MWBE because I had all of that stuff ready. So helping people be ready when the opportunity comes. So, and operating like a business. And so I invite you to join this group. So from this group, though, in October, the fourth quarter of this year, I'm launching the Family Finance Academy, which I'm going to be transparent. I created the Family Finance Academy probably about 3 years ago. But that's all right. It's going to launch this year. We're all working, trying to make it happen. But at this moment, because we're home, now is the time. I have a course already sitting on there ready to go. Again, my assistants are going to add the additional courses. So the testimony is, this is the time for us to pivot, grow, expand. A lot of people are thriving in COVID. Some people are not. So how can we help others as we take people along, like what Queen's Strategy Partners are doing? They're helping MWBEs, which are minority women business enterprises. People have been left out of the economic pie for so long, to bring us up. So that's what my platform is. So also my website is VanessaLindley.com, which will talk about property. So Facebook is one platform where I can engage with people, but I don't want all my intellectual property there. Although you can. There's another group I'm in, and this woman is selling stuff $9.99 all day long. So think about that. If you do have Facebook groups or you have a platform, you can do these ebooks or how-to guides for like $5.99, $9.99, and they can download them through the Facebook platform. You can keep it on your website as well. And people can, again, these downloadables, and people need this information. How are they going to survive and thrive in this economic crisis? So those are some tips for you all.
Absolutely. And I know you're giving us a little extra time, and we're going to get into it. So they have an opportunity. We showed you the Facebook group, which I've been a part of. Those 7 days, we had a phenomenal time. I mean, it's one of my ride or die sisters. I just love the fact that Danielle Douglas and I can bring the best of the best to this platform for MWBEs and small businesses, because we know the best, right? It's birds of a feather do what? And we want to make sure that we all succeed. It's no fun being at the top by yourself. And the top is a perception. It means being on top of your game, making sure that you're doing what you can to add value. As MWBEs and small businesses, we are the answers to what we're seeing in this world. The crisis, the financial unrest, the disparities that need to be leveled. We're the ones that are going to be able to do that. So we just appreciate your comments. And hey, Serena, she said, excellent advice. Girl, I mean, y'all on fire today. Folks can't write fast enough. Like, hold on. Let me see how I can do this. Because it's real-time solutions. Right now, MWBEs, if there was ever a time people were paying attention to MWBEs, that time would be now. Because everyone's trying to equal the access and opportunity for those of us who have not had a real participation in the economic dream. So that's why I love the economic resurrection that Vanessa was doing, and the work helping people really understand that victory and that financial victory. And so that academy that she is creating for families is going to be essential. So, Danielle Brown, we've been talking a lot about all of this intellectual property, telling people cease and desist and all of this.
And going gangster with
DMCA?
The takedown. All right, we're going gangster.
Oh, gosh. Thank you, Serena. So with that being said, let's bring it down to the person that's saying, this sounds great. The resources, I can use Fiverr right now. I can go to Time ETC right now for the virtual assistant. I can go Upwork. I mean, Vanessa's been spitting out, like, she gave you all the industry secrets. Like, she just went in. She probably made some people have said, like, girl, let me tell you my secret. That's how I think about money. She poured it out. So Danielle Brown, if you are someone watching and you're reorganizing your resources right now during COVID-19, and you're not sure if you can afford the registration for copyright and or trademark and or engage with an attorney, what is the poor man's way, as they would say, to at least get started? I know you attorneys don't like that term, but there's a hack to everything. So what kind of legal hack is there to someone who just needs to get started right now, and they might not have the allocation in their budget because they're working on paying employees, or they're working on making sure certain things are still functional during this COVID time? What can they do immediately to start protecting their property? Is it true that you can write this trademark yourself, the copyright symbol, and that protects you? Can you mail it to yourself and that's legal because it was sent by the post office? Please tell us the truth.com on how we can do that.
Yeah, so there's actually no such thing as a poor man's copyright. So a poor man's copyright is what people refer to, like Dr. Stacey said. People thought, like, if I write this poem and I put it in an envelope and I seal it and I mail it to myself, well, I've given myself copyright registration. Don't do it. Don't waste your stamp. It doesn't work, right? The truth is, copyright forms immediately once you put that idea into some tangible medium of expression. So it could be, if you're doing choreography, it could be once you record the video of the choreography. If you're doing poems or processes or courses that you write down, once you put it in writing, you actually have copyright. Right? You own the copyrights to those things. Registration comes in handy for all the things we talked about previously, right? So if you want to sue someone, it gives you leverage in a cease and desist, or if you want to put people on notice of you actually owning the rights, you want to register. So there's no poor man copyright, unfortunately. But I would
clearing that up, because that's an urban myth, and I've heard so many people say it. I'm like, that's not true. But thank you for giving us the official. There ain't no poor man copyright.
What you also have is for trademarks, right? That's when you're protecting your brand, and trademarks serve as an identifier for the source of a good or a service, right? You have common law rights in trademarks as well. Common law rights just mean that you didn't register it federally with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. But similar to the copyright, the common law copyrights you have, your remedies are limited, right? So common law rights, let's say I have a brand, let's say I'm Queen Strategy Group and I never registered my trademark. Well, I am able to have common law rights in that trademark in my region, right? So that's limited, because most businesses nowadays are online and they are operating across the country. Well, someone in another state can potentially have common law rights in that state. So if you want to prevent people from actually using the goodwill of your brand and acting as if, you guys are the same source or creating the same type of material, same quality of materials, you want to go for that federal registration. What I would caution people when starting out, if you want to make sure you own all of your copyrights, you must have an independent contractor agreement. It's essential, right? Because these agreements lay out who actually owns the IP in any work that anybody's creating. So I'm talking photographs, I'm talking videographers, I'm talking logo designs, those courses that you're going to have the VA sign. You want to make sure that all of these things, that you have an agreement in place saying that either the work that they created is a work for hire, or they give you an assignment of all the IP that they create, right? And now they transfer all of those IP rights to you, because what you don't want is have, and I might have given the example last week, but an example is J-Lo took a picture with a photographer took a picture of J-Lo the other day, and J-Lo posted that picture on her Instagram. Well, that photographer sued her because he actually owns the copyrights in that picture. Even though she's in it, he owns the copyrights to the picture. So you want to make sure that you have these independent contractor agreements that not only lay out the terms of your agreement, right? There's all other things that this independent contractor agreement could rectify for you, like the terms, the conditions of the agreement. But IP is something that's addressed in these agreements, and you want to make sure you cover that.
Wait, hold up. My husband's a photographer. I need to go check my rights. I done posted a picture.
He might sue you.
But
wait. Stacey, if you do it right, you know, you like make sure he split the revenue with you. You know? Right?
Absolutely. But that's a good point with photography, videography, logo creation, all of that. You have to have some clear lines of independent contractor rights versus your rights. MWBEs, we're out here creating, and most times folks are so focused on the bottom line of getting paid for whatever they're doing, but you're employing other people to help you deliver to the client, the government contract, the agency, and you're not thinking about all these other pieces, because if your work is all that in a bag of chips, somebody gonna want to get paid off of it. So if you don't have those provisions written out, you have nothing to protect you. You're exposed. So this is great information.
Yeah. So another thing, so I address independent contractors, right? So those are the folks that you're hiring one-off situations or continuously, but they aren't employees. They're completely separate from employees. You want to make sure you have some actual protections in place for employees. So you want to think employee handbook that lays out like who owns your emails, who owns the work that they create for you. But you also want to have some like non-disclosure agreements, right? And you might actually have these for independent contractors as well. But you don't want an employee coming in, learning your processes, learning how you do it, learning your customer list, and all of the assets that you actually have in the building, and then they quit and use all of these things on their own, right? Mm-hmm. So you want to have that non-disclosure agreement as well. And for any consultants or anybody that you're working with that you don't really want to let people know how things run or what you're potentially working on, if it's a secret, a non-disclosure agreement can help you protect some of those assets as well.
Oh, I believe in an NDA, honey. Everybody sign an NDA. Vanessa's jumping in before she jumps off. Vanessa, I'm sorry, Danielle, I think you were also saying something. Vanessa, the floor is yours because you have 4 minutes left with us before you are moving on.
4 minutes.
Vanessa, can I say something? I want to ask you one more question before you go for our guests, for our folks. So I just, So no, say what you're going to say.
You can ask I'm going to add something extra, but if you have something else.
Yes, what I was going to say, and I was thinking about this, was that you are the financial person, right? And then with COVID-19, folks may be like, how can I afford to start creating products, doing these things? So can you talk to our participants about what does that look like on a financial level? How can they put money aside, or how can they strategically do this to make more money while they're trying to handle other stuff? What does that look like for them from a financial perspective?
Well, two things. Again, I've been sharing a lot of grant opportunities. Obviously, they're not a given, but a lot of companies, private companies and government entities are putting money on the table for Black and women, as we know, the MWBE platform, the contracts are going to be looked at more closely. Banks are giving more money, either grants or loans. So we do have more access to money at this moment. And so we have to take it. So in my group, I share a lot of grant opportunities, but also loan opportunities, crowdfunding. I don't know if I talked about this on the last platform. I mean, the most popular one that we know is GoFundMe. Some of us have to get over the negative stereotype of GoFundMe and know that it's a crowdsourcing platform. So if you need to raise money, that's just one platform, but there are many. I Fund Women. I mean, there are a bunch where you can do some crowdsourcing, meaning people invest in your business as you're growing it. And sometimes they get a return. Sometimes it's a loan. Sometimes it's a gift. And these platforms actually set up the parameters for you. So you can have people invest as much as they can. Some platforms you can invest $5, $100 as the investor. I'm the company that needs the money to grow. So think about crowdsourcing as one option. Obviously, grants is another, and loans are another. Loans you have to be ready for. This week I am going to touch on credit. People have been waiting for it. So making sure your credit is in order and establishing a business credit. If you haven't, if you're MWB or applying for MWB, you know that it's critical to have and establish your business credit. So that's a great tip. So I'm going to leave on that. I think that that is a great way to think about growing your business at this time. Please look in crowdsourcing. Again, those are two off the top of my head, but there are others that do a lot of the work for you, and they're user-friendly to start the crowdsourcing. And if you go to the Economic Resurrection, we do share a lot of grant opportunities as they come up. And again, funding opportunity as well, loans if you need to. People hate loans. I believe in leverage. So even like the loan from the SBA, the interest rate is so low. I think I talked about this the last time. You know, the interest rate could be 3%. But if you're getting a profit of return of, 30, 40%, the 3% loan is just a part of doing business. So you put that in your business platform. So
absolutely.
Well, yes.
Thank you, Vanessa, for being with us.
I wish you all the best. Queen Strategy Partners, keep doing what you're doing. My girl, Danielle Brown. I'm going to see you soon. Everybody have a good day.
You too, sis. Great seeing you, and thank you for all the knowledge. She was dropping them today. The bombs like, boom, boom, boom. So we appreciate you, and thank you for juggling your schedule to come back with a follow-up on our show today to give that additional information. So Danielle Brown, now we're coming over to you and giving you a chance to go even deeper with some of the things that you offer, because there's a lot of follow-up. You just kind of touched on some of the areas that people are able to do if they connect with you, but I really want them to understand that this is just the beginning, and there is reason to invest in that kind of time with an attorney that can give you the counsel. Now, do you offer, what is your process? Like, how, when people connect with you, is there an immediate fee? Is there something they can go to your website and get some general information about before engaging and retaining your services?
Absolutely. So you can see on the website, we have a resources page. We have a blog underneath the resources page. We blog, I write 3 blogs a week. So there's tons of content on there. You could go through and filter if you're looking for some business law stuff, some copyrights, estate planning things. You can absolutely go in there and find out more information. Currently, during the pandemic, what we've been offering are some quick 30-minute free consultations. During the pandemic, we think we'll continue to offer these free sessions, and the sessions are really so you can learn more about our process, right? So depending on what you need, our process may be different. Copyrights are different from trademarks. What we do in those consultations is not necessarily give strategy, but we tell you how the law works currently, what we think you should move forward with. And I'm a small business owner, so I identify with small business owners. So, I help clients prioritize what they need to prioritize, right? So that's what that first consultation is for. We do offer strategy sessions. Like if you feel like you've done enough reading on the blog, or you know what you want to move forward with, but you just want help in figuring out how to actually do this on your own, we do offer that, and we call that a strategy session. And it's an hour-long session, and they can come in. That's a paid session. Come in, and we can get that done.
Make sure you say that's a paid session. You're not going to get the strategy for free. There's an invoice that follows or precede the strategy session. But this is amazing that you have all of this content that is available for people to go and do it yourself, right? It's always great to have options as an MWBE on how people can engage with you. There's so many different levels of businesses and types of businesses that are MWBE. A lot of people feel it's just construction, like you have to be a construction worker, or you have to have a firm that does that. There's professional services that can be certified as MWBEs. Danielle and I, our firms, will provide professional services. Our collaboration with Queen Strategy Partners, that's a part of it. So it's you doing your research and finding out where your expertise can be leveraged, and then having people on your team like a Danielle Brown, like a Vanessa Lindley, like a Dr. Teresa Martin Esquire. All the people that we've been bringing on this show are experts in the space of helping you to thrive, right? Real-time issues with real-time solutions for MWBEs from the ground up. We're not here to judge you, no matter where you are in the process. It's about identifying where you are so that you can grow to that next level. So Danielle Douglas, over to you.
So, I think you are a great testimonial as well, Danielle, when you think about when we talk about information and digital assets, because you provide such a wealth of information, free content. But if you think about it, what did you just say? Then they could get a free consultation for 30 minutes. Then they could get a 1-hour paid strategy. Then if they decide to move forward with you, then you're going to charge them for the actual services that they provide. So I just want the folks to think about that, because we did have that discussion also with Dr. Teresa Martin when she was on about how that funnel looks, that you could be a professional services, you can have information, content, and you can formulate it in different ways to show value, but then also to have different levels that you can end up having people pay for either your content or your services, right?
Right.
So Vanessa showed one way. We're showing through you another way that you can do it based on what you are offering and how you want to deliver your product / assets to a group of folks, right? To who your market is. So it works.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just some other things as far as content goes. We also offer monthly webinars. Some of them are free. Some of them you can get on replay. But we're also building out a subscription model, which is, something that for folks who can't afford the traditional attorney or the traditional way, or who want more access to an attorney, we're building out that model so that they can actually get that, right? So for me, that is recurring revenue, but for the client receiving, that's also unlimited, access to an attorney at a cost that is affordable.
Which I think at this point in the development of 2020, if you don't realize that you have to do things differently, that you have to be open to a pivot, that you have to look at all the options on the table, then you're living under a rock. It's right. The people who are able to be flexible, to be nimble. As Danielle shared, we started out from the ground up series talking about pivoting. And today, with protecting and maximizing your digital assets, all of you have gotten such great advice. You can go ahead and sow a seed, the Queen Strategy Partners, for today's show and every show that we've done, because we know the value in what it's going to be able to provide in the return on your investment of time by getting the knowledge and the resource. And we are too going to be leveraging from the ground up. Let's be transparent. Like, that's what it's about. We're not here just to be here. We're all here to be productive. And as my dear friend and sister, Dr. Pamela C.B. Jolly would say, the primary purpose of business is to have and create a profit. If you're not making money, it's not business. It's community service or a hobby. And I've been delivered from that there retarded demon that was trying to keep money from coming.
And I can't the congregation say amen.
So we want to see all of our businesses thrive. I mean, we get such great joy in this. Danielle and I love being your co-host because we are so excited about the kind of information the caliber of our guests are able to share. And we want you to focus on what's possible, not all of what we're seeing. We know what's happening in the world. We know that we're living in a global pandemic. We know racial unrest is at the highest it's ever been. Some people have just figured out what's been happening for 400 years. We know and understand that there is financial insecurity for a lot of our MWBEs and small businesses, some of which may not be able to reopen. But those who will are the ones who are taking the information, are searching and figuring out ways to pivot and not panicking. Because if you panic, you can't pivot. So you have to make a decision and use from the ground up as a means for you to be able to get the information and resources in real time that can turn around your fourth quarter focus. We're coming into the last month of the third quarter, this special month of September where Danielle is born. This is where we are focused right now, because honey, when October comes, the fourth quarter is here. My birthday's here too.
My fellow Libran.
Woo! Yes. So it's important to realize you don't win the game in the fourth quarter. You win the game when you start in the first quarter, building blocks. So this fourth quarter is setting you up for the first quarter of 2021. Some people are trying to fast forward 2020, like, oh my gosh, this is too much. And Lord knows, I know the level of trauma that we've all been experiencing. I'm still in the middle of 2 bereavements. I got 1 more this week. So this is happening in real time, but I have a choice to make. Do I curl up in a ball and I just throw my hands up in the air or give up? But for me, my faith tells me that this too shall pass. Hard times don't last always. MWBEs, we have to be smart and we have to be strategic, because we're the ones that are going to be able to employ people. We're the ones that are going to produce products and programs and services that will help heal this land. So there's no mistaking. Y'all know Danielle and I both believe in God. We both serve Jesus. So there's no mistaking that. But this show is about our MWBE businesses thriving and surviving. So with that being said, Danielle Brown will invite you to share your final comments, and then I turn it over to my co-host to close us out for another episode of From the Ground Up.
Yeah, so I absolutely just encourage everyone to take note of the digital assets and protect them. And if if it's a tiered plan on protection, do that. At least get started. Like Dr. Stacey said, you want to get started. You want to have some kind of movement, some momentum to protect yourself. Feel free to reach out. We're on Instagram at The Brown Firm. We're on Facebook. And secure a free consultation. Why not? And get some guidance in this process. I love working with small business owners. I love working with Black entrepreneurs. So, it's something I'm passionate about. So absolutely reach out, protect yourself, make sure you're taking inventory of all your assets. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you, Danielle. And I want to say again, job well done. I'm going to keep it short today. And the reason why is because I think Dr. Stacey NC Grant kind of had church up in here. I don't need to try to top that what she just said, right? I'm gonna give her due. But the one thing I'm gonna say, as I always say as I end, is that we give you the knowledge, we give you the information, and if you don't use it, then it's for naught. It only becomes wisdom when you take the knowledge and you apply it rightly. So I'm going to just say that, as I always say, and I'm going to continue to say it because, again, we are providing you real-time solutions for real-time issues. We will continue to show up in more ways than one, and we ask that you just continue to show up. We are your partners because we truly want to see you thrive. And what you try to do to bless others, then it comes back to you. So we understand how we sow into you. We're being sold in as well. I said to Danielle before we started the show, I'm going to give you a call. So I get information just like you all are getting information. I get blessed just like you all are getting blessed. So I just want to say that to you. Thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for giving Stacey, myself, and Nicole the opportunity to give you this information because it is clearly blessing us as well. So with that, I'm going to say you all have a wonderful, wonderful week. Make it productive. Make it happen. Be safe. Stay well. And have a great Labor Day weekend. And we look forward to seeing you next week, Tuesday, for another great show.